Today we're going to talk about understanding the legal process and what to expect in a divorce.
As a reminder, this video is for general information purposes only. It is advertising material and does not constitute legal advice.
You know, a lot of times people come in and the first thing that they say is, we are feeling overwhelmed. We have a situation where I just feel like I'm paralyzed. I don't even know where to start. That's not unusual, and that's okay. Because the bottom line is that we're here to walk you through that system and to help you get to that next place that you need to be at. In order to do that, the first step that you need to do is make that initial call. Once you make the call, you need to understand that everything you say to us during consultation is going to be completely confidential. We're not going to call you. We're not going to, unless you want us to. We're not going to harass you. We're going to give you that option, and we just want to share with you information. So really, after you place that call, your next step is going to be a consultation. Well, what happens at a consultation? One of the things that happens at a consultation is that we give you a good analysis based upon the information you provide to us of what it's going to look like in the event that you go forward with a divorce. We require that you fill out paperwork in order to do a consultation, and that's called a divorce information sheet. And a lot of times people get very squirrely, for lack of a better word, because they don't want to give all of that information out. You need to understand that I can't give you good advice and give you good numbers or a good strategy unless I have a basic pattern or basic information about the income, the dynamics of the family, as well as all of the assets and the source of those assets. Once I have that material, then my time is very useful with you because I can develop a strategy for your particular case. So don't be hesitant to share that information because it's all going to be confidential for you. Now, why is that important? Because the thing we're going to do during your consultation is first talk about what are we going to do with income. So there's two elements that we're going to talk about when it comes to income. We're going to talk about maintenance, and that's formerly known as alimony, and we talk about that first. A lot of people say to me, hey Gwen, why are you talking about that first? Shouldn't we be talking about our children and child support? But because in Illinois we do a shared income approach, we have to look at that maintenance issue first, because if there's going to be the payment of maintenance or the receipt of maintenance, that's going to affect how we look at child support. So we first go through what are the maintenance guidelines. Are you eligible? What's the duration of it? What are the terminating events? And talk about that overall. After we get through that maintenance piece, then we're going to go through issues regarding your children. What does that look like? Well, we're going to talk about the allocation of parental responsibilities, which formerly was known as custody, and we're also going to talk about the division of parenting time. When we get through those two categories, we're then going to be able to talk about the financial items that will impact your children as well, whether that be child support, payment of medical insurance, payment of uncovered medical expenses, school expenses, extracurricular expenses for the kids, life insurance, if there's daycare that needs to be provided, and we're going to cover two additional issues, which we'll talk about in more detail later on another video. And that is the issue of college expenses, as well as what if my child is a disabled adult but became disabled during his or her minority. So there's a lot to talk about within that context, but our second category is going to be to deal with that child financial related matters that need to be addressed. The third thing we're going to do in your consultation is really look at what kind of assets you have, what the division is. We're going to talk about how the court's going to look at it, that they're going to divide the marital from the non-marital estate first, and then we're going to go through that entire process to see what will look like in terms of division. Now, obviously, I have very limited information at a consultation stage, but we just try to talk about it in general terms at that point. Finally, we're going to talk about what that court process looks like. How to get filed, what is service of process, what if my spouse doesn't want the divorce, and any questions that you have. And then at the end of that consultation, we're going to try to develop a strategy and give you choices as to what you can look to do. Now, why is it important that you get that information? You have to get that information so that you understand, one, is it a fit? Two, what is this going to look like? And three, you might be at a different stage. You might be at the beginning just discovering information. You might be ready to file. We meet you where you are and we work with you within that context. But we also ask that you understand that divorce is like a chess game. What do we mean by that? Depending on where you move your piece and your spouse moves their piece, we may have to change up that strategy as we go forward because that's just what has to happen in the terms of the litigation. Now, every case is different. So, a lot of people call, well, neighbor Joe had this experience or my friend Nancy had X experience. Doesn't apply. I always say to people, don't get involved with what happened in the past or what happened to somebody else. One is the laws may have been different at that time. Two, you may not know all the circumstances of what really took place in the history of that family. We all think we do, but everybody's got secrets behind closed doors. So you just can't do that. You have to look for your attorney to give you solid advice based upon the facts that exist during your case. So then we get to the next issue is what are we going to do with regard to the court system? Well, once you file, then there has to be service of process and the case has to become at issue. What does that mean? Both sides are ready to go and to proceed. The court will then, and this is just on a high level, broad term, they will deal with issues regarding your children and try to assist you through mediation to reach an agreement. If you can't reach an agreement, there are remedies that we can talk about. And it will also deal with temporary issues and eventually do a pretrial or a trial where a judge will make the decision. Remember, you're in the jury box until you get to that trial date to be able to have a lot of input into what happens with regard to your case. And then, in the event that there are circumstances that are appropriate, there are some instances where cases might be appealed. So that's what the legal process looks like from an overall very fast overview. Final thing is, what's the role of the attorney? So we're really talking about how do I understand the legal process? Well, I will tell you that the role of the attorney is essential. First of all, I say to everybody going through divorce, please get an attorney. I'll say to people during consultation, whether it is our firm, and we certainly want it to be our firm, or another firm, don't forget to make sure that you have counsel. Because you see things through your own lens, but that may not be how the legal system sees it. And your interpretation of what might be right or best for your children is not necessarily what the court's going to look at. So we try to guide you each step of the way. And we at our firm have a team of individuals, including myself as the manager, and then a staff of attorneys, senior paralegals, discovery paralegals, somebody that's going to help you through different steps. We also have client liaisons, coordinators, and different people that play a different role. And so that's our team approach to dealing with your case. So your attorney is very essential and you have to participate. That's what sometimes people forget. And I understand it because you're paralyzed. Let's say you're ready to go today, but you may not be in the future. So you think, okay, let's go forward. So we file the case. And then guess what? We don't hear from you for a couple of months. You can't do that. The best way that you can handle your case is to become a team member with your attorneys, work side by side, get the information that's needed so that we can move forward with your case. Obviously, we want to do the best that we can for you. We're committed to do that, to give you zealous and appropriate representation and make sure you understand your options. Remember, your options become your power in the situation. You will get through this. Today, it probably feels like a very dark day, but in the future, you're going to be able to see a light at the end of the tunnel and be able to move forward and say, I've made some decisions, or my spouse has made some decisions, and my life needs to open a new chapter. We're afraid of new chapters, but we don't have to be. We have to accept what life gives us. So where you're at is where we will meet you, and we will come alongside with you and work together to be able to fulfill what we need to do for you and with you. So we look forward to working with you, and I would tell anybody who's thinking about the legal process, call for a consultation. Make sure you get an attorney. Know the issues in your case and work collaboratively to move forward in the best possible way that you can. Thank you for listening.
As a reminder, this video is for informational purposes only. It is advertising material and does not constitute legal advice. If you are facing this situation, Sterk Family Law Group, PC, in Orland Park, Illinois can help. Call us at 815-600-8950 or visit sterkfamilylaw.com.